keep her legacy alive, Katharina initiated peace into a secret cult. Fire, smoke, incantations. Peace survived, but she changed. Stay tuned because you are about to watch an interesting story. Hello family, welcome to Story by Pete. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel. May God bless you as you do so. Sit back, relax while we dive into the story. Peace was 33 years old, and fear walked with her like a shadow. When she stepped into a room, conversations died. People lowered their voices. Some avoided her eyes. Others forced smiles that never reached their hearts. Peace noticed everything, and she liked it that way. She was beautiful in a way that made people uneasy. Her long dark hair flowed down her back, always neat, always perfect. Her skin glowed. Her walk was slow and confident, like someone who knew the world would move out of her way. And it always did. Peace lived alone in a massive house at the edge of the city. Tall gates. Silent guards. No neighbors close enough to ask questions. The house was old but powerful, filled with dark wooden furniture, strange symbols carved into walls, and a heavy silence that never lifted, even during the day. At night, Peace often stood by her window, staring into the darkness outside. She felt something move inside her. Something alive. Something hungry. She did not fear it. She welcomed it. People said Peace was proud. Others said she was wicked. Some believed she was cursed. But no one dared to confront her openly. Those who tried never stayed the same afterward. Peace smiled whenever she heard the rumors. Fear was respect. Respect was power. And power was everything. Sometimes, when she was alone, Peace remembered being a child, soft, unsure, always holding her grandmother's hand. That child felt distant now, like someone she once knew but no longer recognized. She walked through life untouched by guilt, untouched by pity. Peace believed she was chosen. Chosen to be above others. Chosen to rule. Chosen to never be weak again. She did not yet understand that every shadow has a source, and every power comes with a price. Peace did not become who she was by accident. Her story began with loss. Her parents died on a rainy night, crushed by metal and fire on a lonely road. Peace was still young when the news came. She did not understand death then, only that her mother would never braid her hair again, and her father would never lift her onto his shoulders. From that day, her world became smaller. Only one person remained. Katharina. Katharina took Peace into her arms and never let her go. To the outside world, she was a rich elderly woman, calm, respected, generous. She owned businesses, donated to charities, and spoke softly at public events. But behind closed doors, Katharina was different. She was powerful. The house Peace grew up in was not a normal home. Some rooms were always locked. Some doors were never opened during the day. At night, Peace would hear whispers she could not explain. Candles burned even when there was no light failure. Smoke sometimes filled the air without fire. As a child, Peace asked questions. "Grandma, why does the house feel heavy?" Katharina would smile and touch her head. "Because this house carries history." Peace trusted her. She always did. Katharina raised Peace with strict love. She taught her confidence, discipline, and silence. She told her never to beg, never to fear people, and never to allow anyone look down on her. "Power," Katharina once said, "is the only thing this world respects." Peace listened. She learned. As Peace grew older, she noticed things that made her heart beat faster. Powerful women visited the house at night. Women dressed in black, women who spoke in low voices and left before dawn. None of them wore wedding rings. None of them ever smiled freely. They looked like queens, but broken ones. Peace did not yet know they were widows. She did not yet know why. All she knew was this. Her grandmother was not just a woman. She was a queen mother. And Peace was being prepared for something far bigger than she understood. Peace was 29 when she first heard the rule. It was not spoken openly. It was not written anywhere. It was whispered. That night, Peace woke up thirsty. The house was silent, but the air felt heavy. As she walked toward the kitchen, she heard voices coming from the inner room, the room her grandmother never allowed her to enter. She stopped. Katharina was speaking. "The law remains the same," her grandmother said calmly. "It has never failed." Another woman replied, her voice shaking. "And the husbands?" There was a pause. "They will die," Katharina said. "Within 2 years. Always." Peace's heart froze. She stood in the dark, her bare feet cold on the floor. Her breath came slowly as fear crept into her chest. A third woman spoke. "What if one of us refuses?" Katharina's voice hardened. "Then she leaves with nothing." Peace leaned against the wall, her hands trembling. The women inside laughed softly, not with joy, but with acceptance. Peace realized something painful in that moment. Every woman who visited the house was a widow. Every one of them was rich. Every one of them carried the same quiet sadness. The rule was clear. Marriage could not survive the coven. Love had no place there. That night, Peace returned to her room and locked the door. She sat on her bed until morning, staring at the wall. She thought of her grandmother, strong, wise, protective. She thought of the women who bowed to her. She thought of power and its price. For the first time in her life, Peace felt fear, not of people, but of the path being prepared for her. She whispered into the darkness, "I don't want this life." But the house did not answer. And deep inside, something stirred, as if it had already chosen her. Peace tried to run from the truth, but the truth followed her. After the night she heard the rule, Peace changed. She spoke less. She avoided the inner rooms of the house. She stayed out longer than usual, returning home only when sleep dragged her back. Katharina noticed. One evening, her grandmother called her into the sitting room. Candles were already lit, even though there was electricity. The air smelled of herbs and old smoke. "Sit down, Peace," Katharina said gently. Peace obeyed. "You have been distant," her grandmother continued. "Your spirit is unsettled." Peace's heart beat hard. She wanted to lie, but the words refused to come. "I heard you," Peace said quietly. "That night, I heard everything." Katharina did not act surprised. She only closed her eyes for a moment, like someone who had been waiting. "Yes," she said. "Then it is time." Peace stood up suddenly. "I don't want this life," she cried. "I don't want power that destroys love. I don't want to be alone." Katharina looked old then. Very old. "My child," she said softly, "this power saved us. It protected us. It gave us everything you see. But at what cost?" Peace asked, tears running down her face. Katharina rose slowly and held Peace's hands. "I will not live forever," she said. "If I die without a successor, everything we built will collapse. Enemies will come. Blood will follow." Peace shook her head. "Choose someone else." "There is no one else," Katharina replied. "The blood chooses." Silence filled the room. Peace realized something painful. Her choice had already been made long ago. That night, Peace lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. Memories of her childhood flooded her mind, her grandmother's care, her protection, her sacrifices. Love tied her tighter than fear ever could. By morning, Peace walked back into the sitting room. Her voice was low. "I will do it." Katharina nodded, relief and sadness mixing in her eyes. And somewhere deep inside Peace, something dark smiled. The night of the initiation came too fast. Peace did not eat that day. Her body felt weak, but her mind refused to rest. Every sound in the house felt louder. Every shadow felt alive. At midnight, Katharina knocked on her door. "It is time," her grandmother said. Peace followed her without speaking. They entered the inner room, the one Peace had never been allowed to step into. The walls were covered with strange symbols carved deep into the wood. Candles stood in a wide circle, their flames moving even though there was no wind. The women were already there. All widows. All powerful. All watching her. Peace's heart pounded as Katharina led her to the center. "Do not resist," Katharina warned gently. "Resistance brings pain." Smoke rose from a burning bowl. Thick. Dark. Heavy. It filled the room and entered Peace's lungs. Her eyes burned. Her legs shook. Katharina began to speak words Peace did not understand. The air changed. Fire flared suddenly, lighting up the room in red and gold. Peace screamed as pain rushed through her body like fire in her veins. It felt like something was tearing her open and entering her at the same time. She fell to her knees. Her head spun. Her heart raced. Her body shook violently. "Hold her," someone said. Hands gripped her arms. Katharina placed her hands on Peace's head. "Accept it," she commanded. "Accept your crown." Peace cried. She begged. She wanted it to stop. But it did not. A sharp pain tore through her chest. And then, silence. The fire went out. The smoke cleared. Peace collapsed to the floor, gasping for breath. When she opened her eyes, the room looked different. Sharper. Darker. Louder. She could feel something inside her. Something powerful. Something alive. Something that would never leave. Katharina helped her up and whispered, "It is done." Peace did not answer. She knew, deep in her soul, that there was no turning back. The girl she once was had died in that room. And something else had been born. Peace did not wake up the same after the initiation. Her body felt normal, but her spirit was not. Something inside her stayed awake, even when she slept. It whispered. It watched. It waited. At first, the power came quietly. She would think of someone, and moments later, that person would call. She would feel angry, and lights would flicker. She would speak, and people would suddenly grow silent. Peace told herself it was coincidence. But deep down, she knew better. One morning, she stood before the mirror and stared at her reflection. Her eyes looked sharper, darker, stronger. When she blinked, she felt like she was looking at someone else. She raised her hand slowly. The curtain moved. Peace stepped back in shock. Her heart raced, not with fear, but excitement. Over the next days, the power grew stronger. She did not need words anymore. Thought was enough. Emotion was enough. When she focused, the air around her felt heavy, like the world was bending slightly in her direction. Katharina watched her closely. "Do not rush it," her grandmother warned. "Power must be respected." But Peace barely listened. For the first time in her life, she felt important. Untouchable. Above weakness. Above pain. The fear she once carried vanished completely. One evening, a house help accidentally broke a glass vase. She apologized and trembled. Peace looked at her. The woman dropped to her knees, crying, begging, shaking violently. Peace said nothing. When the woman was finally helped away, Peace felt her heart beat fast, not with guilt, but pleasure. She had caused that. That night, Peace did not sleep. She sat on her bed, smiling softly in the dark. Power no longer felt like a burden. It felt like freedom, and freedom began to taste sweet. Peace no longer hid who she was. The power inside her had grown bold, and so had she. She walked with her head high, her steps slow, her eyes cold. Wherever she went, people felt it before they saw her. That afternoon, Peace entered an expensive restaurant in the city. The place was full, soft music, quiet laughter, polished tables. Conversations paused when she walked in. She chose a seat near the window. A young attendant approached her, holding a notepad. "I'm sorry, ma'am," the girl said politely. "This table is reserved." Peace looked up slowly. The girl smiled nervously, not knowing who she was speaking to. Peace felt irritation rise in her chest. A small thing. A harmless thing. But she did not like being corrected. "Do you know who I am?" Peace asked calmly. The girl shook her head. "I'm just doing my job, ma'am." That was enough. Peace leaned back in her chair and stared at the girl. She did not speak. She did not move. She only focused. The air around them thickened. The girl's hands began to shake. Her face went pale. The pen dropped from her fingers. Suddenly, she gasped for breath, her eyes wide with fear. I'm sorry," the girl cried, falling to her knees. "Please, I'm sorry." People stood up in shock. Some screamed. Others backed away. Peace watched it all with calm eyes. She felt something warm spread through her chest. Satisfaction. Control. Security rushed in. The manager begged Peace to forgive the incident. The girl was carried away, still shaking, still crying. Peace stood up slowly, smoothing her dress. The restaurant was silent. No one met her eyes. As she walked out, she smiled to herself. That night, Peace lay in bed, replaying the moment in her mind. The fear. The power. The way the room had bowed to her presence. She realized something dangerous then. Fear was no longer just a reaction. It was her food, and she was hungry for more. After the restaurant incident, Peace's name spread quietly. People did not talk openly. They whispered. Business partners avoided conflict with her. Employees obeyed without question. Even powerful men spoke to her carefully, choosing their words like people walking on broken glass. Peace noticed it all, and she loved it. Trouble came when one of her businesses was accused of fraud. A former partner reported her to the police, claiming she had taken money that did not belong to her. For the first time in a long while, Peace was summoned. The police station smelled of paper and sweat. Officers watched her closely as she walked in, proud and calm. Some of them knew her name already. "Please sit," one officer said. Peace sat. As questions began, she listened quietly. She did not argue. She did not defend herself. Instead, she closed her eyes for a brief moment. Inside her, the darkness responded. Files on the table suddenly felt heavy. The officer's thoughts became confused. Memories twisted. One witness forgot dates. Another changed his story. A document went missing. Within hours, the case collapsed. The officer cleared his throat. "There's no evidence to continue," he said weakly. "You may go." Peace stood up slowly. As she walked out of the station, sunlight touched her face. She laughed softly, shaking her head. "Even the law bows," she whispered. That night, she celebrated alone in her house. Wine in her hand, music low, candles burning. She felt invincible. Katharina watched her quietly from across the room. "You are moving too fast," her grandmother warned. "Power has limits." Peace smiled and waved her off. "There are no limits," she replied. But she did not notice the change. Each time she used her power, it demanded more. Her dreams grew darker. Her heart grew heavier. Still, peace ignored the signs. She had crossed another line, and there was no fear left in her. Peace believed she was untouchable, and that belief would soon be tested. By now, Peace no longer questioned herself. Right and wrong had lost meaning. All that mattered was desire. If she wanted something, she took it. That was how she noticed him. He was a married man, successful, respected, loved by his wife. Peace met him during a business dinner. He spoke confidently, but his eyes shifted when he looked at her, like he felt something he could not explain. Peace felt it too. She smiled. That night, she whispered his name in her room. She did not shout. She did not chant. She only focused. Within weeks, the man changed. He became distant at home. Restless. Cold. He began to see Peace secretly. His wife cried and begged, but love had already been poisoned. Soon, he left his home and moved into Peace's world like someone walking into darkness without knowing it. Peace felt no guilt. She was weak, she said when she heard the woman had fallen sick. Weak people lose. Not long after that, another woman challenged Peace openly at a business meeting. The woman questioned her figures, her methods, her honesty. The room went quiet. Peace smiled slowly. That night, she acted again. Within days, the woman's contracts failed. Investors withdrew. Rumors spread. Her company collapsed like a house built on sand. Friends disappeared. Support vanished. The woman begged for mercy. Peace ignored her. At home, Katharina watched Peace closely. Her eyes were filled with worry. This power was never meant for pleasure, her grandmother said softly. You are losing yourself. Peace laughed. There is nothing to lose, she replied. But that night, Peace dreamed of fire and screaming faces. She woke up sweating, her heart racing. For a brief moment, fear touched her chest. She pushed it away. Mercy had become a foreign word. Compassion felt like weakness. Peace stood at her window as the city slept and whispered to the darkness inside her. Who can stop me? Somewhere beyond her sight, an answer was already moving toward her. Peace met Perry on a busy afternoon at a shopping mall. The place was crowded, voices everywhere, carts rolling, people rushing. Peace walked in confidently, dressed in black, her long hair flowing freely. As always, people noticed her presence. Some moved aside without knowing why. Peace went straight to the counter, stepping ahead of others in the queue. Murmurs rose immediately. Hey, there's a line. That's not fair. Peace turned slowly, her eyes cold. Do you know who I am? She asked. Silence followed. She was ready to act. That was when Perry spoke. Everyone is equal here, the voice said calmly. Peace turned sharply. Perry stood there quietly, her face calm, her eyes clear. She was beautiful in a soft way, no pride, no fear. Her long hair rested gently on her shoulders. She did not look impressed. She did not look afraid. Peace felt something strange. Resistance. You should mind your business, Peace said, her voice sharp. Perry shook her head gently. Not when wrong is happening. People watched closely now. Some expected Perry to fall. Others waited for Peace's power to strike. Peace focused. Nothing happened. Her heart skipped. She tried again, harder. Still nothing. For the first time in years, Peace felt weak. Perry stepped closer and lowered her voice. I know what you carry, she said. And I know where it comes from. Peace's hands trembled slightly. You are not in control, Perry continued. You are being used. Anger exploded inside Peace. She tried to strike, but Perry raised her hand calmly. The air shifted. Peace felt something tear away from her chest. Her strength drained instantly. Her knees buckled, and she fell to the floor in front of everyone. Gasps filled the mall. Perry looked down at her, not with pride, not with anger, but with sadness. This ends today, she said. Security rushed in. People whispered. Phones came out. Peace sat on the floor, shaking, powerless. For the first time in her life, she was not feared. She was exposed. And the crown she wore in secret had cracked, right in front of the world. The mall was silent. Peace sat on the cold floor, her body shaking. Her chest felt empty, like something had been pulled out of her by force. She tried to stand, but her legs refused to move. She tried to reach inside herself. Nothing answered. Fear flooded her heart for the first time in years. People stared. Some whispered. Others pointed. This was the same woman they once feared, but now she looked small. Broken. Perry knelt in front of her. You feel empty, Perry said softly. That is because the darkness feeding on you has been cut off. Peace looked up at her with angry, desperate eyes. What did you do to me? She whispered. I didn't destroy you, Perry replied. I freed you. Peace shook her head violently. You took everything from me. Perry sighed. No, that power was never yours. It was using you, slowly killing your soul. Peace remembered the fire, the smoke, the screams, the pleasure she felt when people feared her. Suddenly, shame crushed her chest. Security arrived and helped Peace to her feet. People stepped back, not in fear this time, but confusion. Peace could feel it clearly. She was ordinary now. As they led her away, Peace looked back at Perry. Why? She asked weakly. Why didn't you kill me? Perry met her eyes calmly. Because light does not destroy, it corrects. That night, Peace returned to her house. The silence felt heavier than ever. She tried lighting candles. Nothing happened. She whispered words she once used. Nothing responded. She fell to the floor and cried. For the first time since her initiation, Peace cried not from pain or anger, but from regret. She finally understood what her grandmother tried to warn her about. Power without mercy becomes a prison, and Peace had just been released from it. The house no longer recognized Peace. The walls felt cold. The silence felt louder than noise. The shadows that once moved with her now stayed still, like strangers who no longer knew her name. Peace walked slowly through the rooms she once ruled. No whispers, no power, no fear, only her. She stopped in front of an old mirror. The same mirror she used to admire herself after the initiation. She looked into it and barely recognized the woman staring back. She was still beautiful, but her eyes were different. They were human again. Peace sank to the floor and cried. Not the quiet tears of pride, but deep, broken tears. Tears filled with regret. With memories of people she had hurt. Lives she had destroyed. Love she had stolen. She remembered her grandmother's voice. Power is the only thing the world respects. But now she understood the truth too late. Power without love destroys the bearer first. Days passed. Then weeks. Peace sold most of her businesses. She returned what she could. She avoided crowds. Avoided attention. Fear no longer followed her, and strangely, she did not miss it. One evening, she stood outside an orphanage gate, watching children play. Their laughter was real, untouched by darkness. For the first time, Peace felt something warm in her chest. Hope. She did not know if she could ever be forgiven. She did not know if redemption was possible. But she knew one thing. She would never choose darkness again. Peace walked away from the shadows of her past, not as a queen, not as a ruler, but as a woman learning how to live without a crown. And somewhere in the distance, unseen and unfelt, the light watched quietly. Not to punish her, but to guide her, if she was willing to follow.